We're at it again, going balls deep into Tubi. Let's get to it. Island of the Fishmen is a 1979 horror sci-fi Italian movie or giallo film. It's also, I think, listed on Tubi as Screamers as its alternate title. This one's about a prisoner ship that runs aground on a seemingly deserted island, but they quickly discover a mad scientist who persists and performs genetic manipulation. I like this one. This one was on the Cobweb channel. I saw. That's how I got it as a recommendation as a bonker film on Tubi. So I figured give it a shot. I did like this one. It was for a B movie. It's not bad. The creatures are a little goofy looking in this, but for being the 70s, I think the special effects ain't bad. There's another one called like Humanoids of the Deep. That's fish people, but this one I enjoyed it a little better myself. So if you didn't see this one and want a classic, check this one on out. Scars of Dracula is a 1970 British horror vampire movie. This is starring Christopher Lee, and it is the Hammer horror movie. This one is about Dracula is resurrected by bat's blood, where he ends up trying to fight a couple that is looking for trouble after his castle's been burnt down. This one, I'm not going to say it's the best Dracula movie. I had fun with it still. Christopher Lee is always great as Count Dracula. And I'm not really the biggest fan of vampire films. There's a select few I like, and you probably heard me on other lists say this, but there's some underrated vampire films I do like. I'm not saying this one's underrated because it's in the Hammer collection, and everyone knows Christopher Lee's Dracula, but this one I did enjoy. So if you want to dig deep into like the Hammer horror, or even classic horror, or just horror in general, I would give this one a shot as well. Friday the 13th is a 1980 horror film. It's about 7 camp counselors that ignore the locals about the curse of Camp Crystal Lake. Yet they still set up their summer camp, but they find themselves getting murdered one by one by a brutal, unknown killer. And if you don't know what Friday the 13th is by now, I'm going to recommend it. Start with this one and work your way through it. Jason Voorhees, the Friday the 13th series, it's one of my all-time favorite ones. And it is definitely a staple in the horror. So, like I said, if you're digging deep into it, start out with Friday the 13th. I do recommend. Madhouse is a 1981 horror slasher film. A deformed escapee flees from a mental institution and organizes a morbid birthday surprise for her twin sister. Yeah, this one gets gruesome for being an 80s film. I really like this one. This one was recommended to me from a Facebook group I'm in about horror movies. They said it's streaming on Tubi, so I checked it on out. I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely digging in more into the classics, so if you are like me, I highly recommend checking this one out today. Martin is a 1977 horror drama film directed by the master of horror himself, George A. Romero. This one follows a young man named Martin who believes he's an 84-year-old vampire. He doesn't have fangs. He doesn't have powers. He uses sedatives to stalk his prey and uses razor blades to inflict wounds and suck their blood that way. However, he goes to Pennsylvania and stays with a superstitious uncle of his that believes he's a vampire as well. Things get kind of hairy, and then he starts preying on the criminals and thugs of his area there. Falls in love with a housewife. In a way, this movie, I'm not going to spoil nothing, but it is a sad movie. But I consider this one, the ones you never saw before, and it's very underrated. Like I said earlier in this channel, I like underrated vampire films, and this is one of them. And I think you should check this one on out today, tomorrow, or very soon, because this one deserves a watch.
Thanks for watching. Hopefully you consider my picks for Tubi. These are good classics. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button for more recommendations on Tubi films. Hit that like button if you liked it. I'll see you on the next one with more recommendations from yours truly, The Basement Dweller.